So turning back to some grammar mechanics in language arts. So working with misplaced modifiers, and I noticed the thing about this unit that sort of makes sense now, is that it really deals with when we shift things in a sentence or with our pronouns that can cause confusion. And that's really what a misplaced modifier is. So a modifier is a word, phrase, or clause that modifies or gives additional information about a word. So I could simply say, the turkey is roasting at 325, right? That's a complete sentence. If I wanted to modify that some, the turkey in the oven is roasting at 325. So in the oven is a modifier. So it typically will give you, again, it's giving you more information about that one word. It will, help locate it or give it a condition or, all kinds of other things. But that's typically what modifiers do. So, adjectives, adverbs help modify words, but you can also have phrases, prepositional phrases in particular, that modify a word. Now, a problem with modifiers is that if we don't put them in the right place in the sentence, we wind up modifying the wrong thing and causing some confusion. Sometimes some kind of funny, mistakes and sort of confusion about what may be in the oven or who is in the oven. Which we'll find out here. So the one rule of thumb with modifiers is they should be close as possible to the word. And that's usually where we get in trouble when we try to move those modifiers away from the word that it's modifying, and we wind up confusing the reader. So we'll take a look at our lesson here.
Hello again. Are you ready to start the lesson Misplaced Modifiers? Modifiers tell more about something in a sentence. When a modifier is in the wrong place, it can be unclear. This lesson will teach you how to avoid misplaced modifiers.
Yeah, and so like I mentioned, a modifier is giving you more information. You will have a complete sentence without a modifier, but it's helping the reader or helping who you're talking to understand the condition or location or state of something that you are talking about.
Misplaced modifiers are a common problem. They can cause a lot of confusion. Take a look at this sentence from a memo that my friend Ethan emailed to everyone at work. There are special treats for all the employees in the refrigerator. Ethan was so embarrassed when he got a reply email from his boss, Alba. No employee should be in the refrigerator. Please make sure the treats are distributed to all non-refrigerated employees.
Right, so just stop it here and look at that, right? In the refrigerator is your modifier, but it's not modifying the special treats, it's modifying the employees. So it's literally stating that the special treats are for the employees in the refrigerator. So unless you're in the refrigerator getting chilled, you don't get a treat. So that's what we're talking about with misplaced modifiers. So we'll see how.
Now, Alba was just joking, but can you see how the phrase in the refrigerator is unclear? Because it's right next to the word employees. It seems like the employees are in the refrigerator instead of the treats being in the refrigerator. That's what's called a misplaced modifier. I'll show you all about them. Are you ready?
All right, so the easiest way to have fixed that sentence is saying there are special treats in the refrigerator for all the employees, right? That would fix it up there. So let's take a look here as we go along.
Let's talk about modifying phrases first. Modifying phrases tell you something about another word in the sentence. They can be prepositional phrases like in the refrigerator, or they can start with an ing verb like this. The car speeding down the road was stopped by the police. Modifiers can also be relative clauses starting with words like that, which, or who. Here's an example. The girl who forgot her glasses came back to the restaurant. Modifying phrases and clauses should be near the word that they describe.
Yeah, and you could see, right, those are the correct usage. And when we move things around is where we get in trouble. So right here, the car speeding down the road was stopped by the police. Now, if I move that modifier, which we tend to do, if I said the car was stopped by the police speeding down the road, now you're talking about the police speeding down the road, not the car that was speeding down the road. And with the relative clause here, same thing. The girl who forgot her glasses came back to the restaurant. If I said the girl came back to the restaurant who forgot her glasses, it makes me sound, not only am I gendering the restaurant, it sounds like the restaurant had lost its glasses, not the girl.
Glasses came back to the restaurant. Be near the word that they describe. Usually the phrase is just after the noun it describes. There are two common mistakes with placing modifying phrases. One is when the phrase is near another word that causes confusion. Look at this sentence. The woman sat quietly near the fire reading the paper. What's the problem with this sentence? It's the phrase reading the paper. It can sound like the fire is reading the paper. Maybe you can tell that the woman is reading the paper, since it's silly that a fire would read the paper, but the misplaced modifier can still distract the reader. You need to...
Right, so it'd be the woman reading the paper sat quietly
change
near
the
the fire.
sentence to make it clearer. You might need to reword the sentence so that it sounds more natural, like this. The woman who sat quietly near the fire was reading the paper. Now, because of the sentence structure, it's clear that the woman, who is the subject, was the one reading the paper, since that's the verb. Another problem is called a dangling modifier. When there's a dangling modifier, the modifier doesn't actually refer to any word in the sentence. It's really common when you start a sentence with an ing modifying phrase. Here's an example. Looking toward the ocean, the waves were splashing on the sand. What does the phrase looking toward the ocean describe? Who is looking? Waves can't look. There's no one in the sentence that could be looking, so it's a dangling modifier. You need to rewrite the sentence. One way is by adding the missing noun. As we looked toward the ocean, we saw the waves splashing on the sand. Now the sentence is clear. It tells who was looking. So, do you think you can find and fix misplaced modifying phrases?
Yeah, so misplaced modifier is modifying the wrong thing in the sentence. A dangling modifier just really isn't modifying anything. It's just out there and it doesn't really make sense. It's really affecting the clarity of the sentence. So let's go to the next slide.
Try correcting a misplaced phrase. Which choice is the best revision to this sentence?
Mandy offered a cookie to the girl that was hot out of the oven. So was the girl hot out of the oven or was the cookies hot out of the oven? I'd probably want a cookie if I just came out of the oven too. But we need to, we need to switch that around so that it's the cookies that are coming out of the oven and not the girl. So we move hot out of oven after cookie. So hot out of the oven to after cookie. So Mandy offered a cookie that was hot out of the oven to the girl, right? So that will read a lot better.
Great job. The modifying phrase that was hot out of the oven is right next to the word girl. It seems to modify girl instead of cookie. Moving the modifier makes the sentence clear. Mandy offered a cookie that was hot out of the oven to the girl.
There you go. Let's see what else we got here.
You can see how phrases can be confusing in the wrong place. The same is true of one-word modifiers, like adverbs and adjectives. If adjectives are in the wrong order, it can be confusing. First, I want to put the adjective before the noun it describes. If I say the old man's shirt, it means the shirt belonging to the old man. If I say the man's old shirt, it means the old shirt belonging to the man. That's because man and shirt are both nouns. The adjective old goes with the noun that's right after it. You can also have more than one adjective in the wrong order. See, in general, adjectives in English usually go in an order: number, quality, size, physical attributes, length or shape, age, color, nationality or religion, and then material, and finally, purpose.
Yeah, we looked at this before, right? When it comes to adjectives, particularly with numbers, right? They're going to come first. You want to know how many of something happen, is there first. Then the quality, the size, the physical attribute. I mean, obviously, you're not going to use all 10 of these to describe a noun. So it'll be a little easier, and it's a little bit intuitive as well. But certainly, once you get the number in the right place, a lot of times the rest kind of falls in under that. So let's keep going.
So adjectives in the wrong order can sometimes sound wrong, like the French large bulldog instead of the large French bulldog, or the red yummy candy instead of the yummy red candy. Some adjectives are similar enough that the order doesn't matter much, but this adjective order usually sounds most natural. Adverbs like only, just, almost, and often can change the meaning of a sentence depending on where they're placed. It's really common to put these adverbs in the wrong place. Like adjectives, adverbs should go near the thing they modify. Usually an adverb is right before the word it describes. Take a look at this sentence. Everett almost bought every can of soup in the store. What's wrong with this sentence? The word almost is an adverb meaning nearly. Because it's before bought, the sentence really means that Everett was thinking about buying all the soup, but he didn't. He almost bought it. I think the writer means this. Everett bought almost every can of soup in the store. This sentence means Everett bought most of the soup. Almost describes every can. So be careful where you put adverbs and adjectives. Where you place them changes the meaning, and sometimes it can cause confusion.
Yeah, whereas, it's common to see misplaced modifiers or dangling modifiers. It's really common to see the adverbs placed in the wrong place. These four only, just, almost, often placed in the wrong part in a sentence and modifying the wrong thing. That's probably the most common type of modifier mistake that we see. So let's take a look here.
Try fixing the placement of a modifying word. Which choice is the best revision to this sentence?
Right. So Janice nearly drove for 12 hours to get home. So the way that reads, it sounds like Janice almost drove. Like she almost got in the car and drove 12 hours. She nearly made it to her car to drive 12 hours. When what we want to modify is the fact that she drove 12 hours, close to 12 hours. So Janice drove for nearly 12 hours to get home, right? Because otherwise she didn't make it there at all because she didn't even get to her car. She nearly drove. But we want to say that she drove nearly 12 hours. You could see that those modifiers, those words, really, really easy to put in the wrong place. So we move nearly to before 12. Move nearly before 12, and that'll fix it.
Great job! The word nearly is meant to describe 12 in this sentence. Janice drove just less than 12 hours. Nearly 12 hours.
Right. Instead of nearly driving. She definitely drove. It's a matter of how far she drove. So, and that is a great example of probably the most common mistake that we make with those words, just, often, nearly. So that gets us to our practice questions.
Very good work on those exercises.
Yep.
Now
so let's take about 10 minutes. So we only just got sentences here. I think 10 minutes ought to do to go through our practice questions, and then we will do some review. I'll stop sharing. I'll put this on pause. So our first question here. And how do we revise it? So the book was finished having spent 3 hours reading it. So that is a good example of a dangling modifier. We don't really have a subject here. The book was finished is a standalone sentence, but who spent 3 hours reading it? We have no idea. The book wasn't reading itself. So we need to have someone there who is reading it. In this case, we put Javier finished the book, having spent 3 hours reading it. So that's our correction to make there, our revision. We need to have somebody reading the book to prevent that from being a dangling modifier. Yeah. So moving on. So revising this, when Paula ran through the parking lot where she left her car quickly. So she's not leaving her car quickly. She's actually running through the parking lot. So we need to say, or we need to put move quickly after ran. So Paula ran quickly through the parking lot where she left her car. So that will correct the issue. Move quickly after ran. Yeah, so it's not.
What was the first question?
The first one was Javier finished the book having spent 3 hours reading it. That's the revision we need to make. Yeah, and then here we move quickly after ran. So that makes more sense. Okay. Which choice is best for this one? So hoping to work next week, the schedule did not include Jacob. So is the schedule working next week or is Jacob working next week? So the schedule did not include Jacob, who was hoping to work next week. That's the correction we're looking for. Schedule did not include Jacob, comma, who was hoping to work next week. So then by adding who was, we understand that we're referring to Jacob. And that's basically what you have to do, is sort of question it when you see something like that. Does it point to the right thing?
Excellent. You got the first
Now,
three
who is
questions
hoping to
all
work
correct.
next week?
That
Let's keep going here. So revising, the slow moving three turtles walked through the tall grass. So we talked about this too. It's basically the order in which we have our adjectives there and our modifying words. So we need to move slow moving after three. So it's the three slow moving turtles walk through the tall grass. So move slow moving after three. And that's less about having a dangling modifier as it is just that it sounds better in a certain order. So the three slow moving turtles walk through the tall green grass. All right, and here we have, after reading the article, the author's argument became clear to Allie. So, we don't know who's reading the article in this situation. Is the author reading it? Is Allie reading it? So to revise that, we put, after Allie read the article, the author's argument became clear to him. Or Ali. I think it's Ali, not Allie. Yeah, so Ali. That better clarifies the sentence. Alfred only drinks coffee with sugar, but he drinks tea with cream and sugar. So the problem here, it sounds at first that Alfred only drinks coffee. That's the way that reads. That's the only thing he ever consumes. That's the only liquid that he ever puts in his body is coffee. Alfred only drinks coffee. And of course, that second phrase there says, but he drinks tea with cream and sugar. So what we need to do is move only before sugar. So Alfred drinks coffee with only sugar. That's the only thing that he puts in his coffee, rather than that's the only thing that he drinks. Right, so we'll read, Alfred drinks coffee with only sugar, but he drinks tea with cream and sugar. Ella bought presents for her friends that she thought were nice. So is Ella only buying presents for her nice friends, or is she buying presents for all of her friends? Is she buying nice presents for her friends? So to clarify that and eliminate the confusion, we say Ella bought presents that she thought were nice for her friends. So rather just buying presents for her nice friends, she's buying nice presents for her friends. Last one here. Tanya opened the dark chocolate box of candy that her sister bought. So now it sounds like we have a box made of dark chocolate instead of having a box of dark chocolate candy. So we need to move dark chocolate before candy. So it's Tanya opened the box of dark chocolate candy that her sister bought. So you hit that. And you could see just how, really easy those mistakes are to make. And we do it all the time.
Thank you for finishing the Misplaced Modifiers lesson. I hope it helps you improve your writing. Modifiers are important because they describe details. If you put them in the wrong place, though, they just cause confusion. Look out for adverbs, adjectives, phrases, and clauses that are misplaced. They often seem to describe one noun or verb when they're meant to describe something totally different. Usually, you want to put a modifier right near the word it describes. Adjectives and adverbs usually come before the word they describe, and phrases usually come after the word they describe. If the phrase is at the beginning of the sentence, then it describes the subject. Think about what words a modifier could describe, and make sure there's no confusion in your writing. Quick results to see how you did on the questions.
Yeah, so that is the rule there. And that's the best way to think about it, is just making sure that if you're using an adjective or adverb, that it comes before the word you're modifying, and it should be directly before it. If it is a clause or phrase, particularly like this prepositional phrase, it's going to come right after it. But it is the closest it can be to that word that you're modifying, and that will help you eliminate some of that confusion. So any questions on misplaced modifiers, dangling modifiers, any of that? Oh, you guys are good. Yeah, I like this lesson though. So, it's stuff, again, we all make these mistakes sometimes. And this is where you really have to, a lot of times you will catch the stuff in editing, which is why, having a minute or two to proofread what you have written will help. So those things are usually when you catch those. So yeah, it's another quick day. Hopefully my voice will get a little better. And tomorrow we're going to have another reading lesson. So of course it'll be a little bit longer as well. So anyway, we'll wrap up then if there's no questions, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, end of the week already. So tomorrow at 12:15 for some social studies. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.